dying embers of human existence. As the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth, the world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the Earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more, for friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Western Media Podcast Network. In this cinematic crusade, we journey through films on VOD and streaming platforms, deciding their fate, salvation in our vault of legends, or eternal banishment in the flames of the upcoming asteroid apocalypse. You can find all episodes of our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, or find us on social media at Back to the Frame Rate. I am NMS0728, and accompanying me, as always, is SCC0481. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right, and excited for what is going to be. I think this is what we can officially call the launch of season 3. It's
season 3, yeah.
It kind of is, because we are starting the year off with a new retrospective. And sadly, though, this is coming off the heels of, I think, some sad news, but we thought this would be a great opportunity to look at the life and career of one of our great American actors, Robert Duvall, who passed away a few weeks ago. And we're doing this by revisiting some of his films, some of his more well-known films, and some of his more deeper cuts, I guess you could say. And this is going to be, I think, a fun look at his filmography. And we're going to start off with a discussion of one of his very early roles, and that is THX 1138. And I haven't seen this in a long, long time. And this was quite an experience watching this. Sam, I'd like to hear a little bit about, we didn't talk much about when we kind of threw this list together. What is your, relationship with this movie? I know we're both George Lucas fans, there's good and bad with that, but tell me about where you are with this. Have you seen this before? And what were your thoughts on it if you had?
I saw it for the first time last night. Saturday night.
Oh, really?
I'd seen the short before, which I liked, but I hadn't seen the Robert Duvall feature that was produced by, Francis Ford Coppola with American Zoetrope. But so I knew of it and I was aware of it, but I'd never actually sat down and watched it before. So I have a very immediate, fresh in my mind take.
Yeah, I did see this movie, I think, back in college. It was like a college film. I remember everybody in the floor, we're going to watch THX 1138. And I remember around the same time, I did see the short at the time, which is interesting. It's different. I mean, it's really just like a chase movie, there's not much character development in it, but I actually like the short. It's very stylized.
I like the short a lot.
Yeah.
Or I appreciate the short. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting. I didn't know that you'd never seen this before.
I hadn't. I own it too, and I just was like, "Oh, there it is on the shelf." I guess I'll open it. I watched the director's cut, which I know he'd meddled with and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really all that's available now. What's funny is that when I saw this in college, I didn't see the director's cut because that wasn't even around then, and I don't know where you can even get the version that's not the director's cut now. I don't think it's streaming anywhere. It might maybe floating around on DVD somewhere, but I would be interested now in comparing the two if I could find a DVD, because I did notice there was some egregious use of CGI here and there. I'm like, no, that was not, that could not be done back in 1971.
In 1971, yeah. I did notice at the beginning, there was some shot in the control room where there was a window, and I think it would have been a white wall on the original, but through this glass window, there was all these moving pieces, and it looked kind of like a digital background that was put in one of the shots. And for a second, I didn't know. I went online and figured out it was the director's cut, but I didn't know that the director's cut, that he'd gone back and done that. So for a moment, I was watching the film and I was like, whoa, that's what amazing shots from 1971, but because it was added later. So
right. All right. Well, I have a plot synopsis floating around here somewhere. It's pretty brief. I think I got this off of IMDb or Wiki. I'm not sure, but here it is. It's in the 25th century, a time when people have designations instead of names. A man, THX 1138, and a woman, LUH 3417, rebel against their rigidly controlled society.
All Earth Council, in its infinite wisdom, has decided these two numbers are to be disposed of. The Biochemical Forum has demands to make on their parts, however, before they are eliminated. That's the kind of efficiency that makes you proud to live in this era.
This series compared to 38.
And just back off, THX 1138.
You have asked, are we happy? Are we happy and effective? Consultation with leading experts in the field makes it perfectly clear, that we are all now programmed for perfect happiness, perfect happiness, perfect happiness, perfect happiness.
All right. Oh, fade out there. That goes on like that for a little while. Yeah, I think that kind of gives you an idea of what you're in for turning on this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit on, I like to talk about the box office for a moment here. I saw online a budget of $777,777. I don't know if that's what the story is behind that. I couldn't find anything, but that's interesting. Box office. Now, this is not upon its, and this is cumulative, I think, over its lifetime, 2.4 million. But I do know that upon its initial release, this was a flop. And I think I saw that it earned 945,000 at the time.
Woo!
Yeah, woo, big time. I know. It did have a re-release in 1977 after the success of Star Wars, and it restored some of the missing footage, but it also flopped again. Nobody was really into this movie.
I know it was because of that movie, George Lucas was kind of perceived as a cold sci-fi director, and it was Francis Ford Coppola that said to him, I dare you to do like a comedy that's fun, that's like lighthearted. And that's where he's like, okay. And he wrote and he did American Graffiti, which I think is great. But it's just funny that like the inception of that came from his colleague being like, you got to lighten up, man.
Somebody's lighten up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in 2004, the director's cut, which had a few more minutes restored to it with some digital effects added. But even through all of this, it's only made like 2.4 million over like multiple releases. This movie it's hard to digest, I guess but it's interesting. And so I guess the first thing, before we get into the discussion on this, Sam, what was your initial take? I've seen this before, and I may have even seen it on TV or late night TV in passing every now and then, but you took this in fresh with new eyes. What is my
initial take, having just watched it for the first time, is it's a movie that I appreciate. I'm always on board for tone poems when a director wants to create a very specific atmosphere. I appreciate this movie. I think it's interesting. What's funny about it to me is that he's so successful at creating a clinical, cold, sterile environment.
Yeah.
He achieves that so well that I actually have trouble connecting to it. And I felt like I was one of the human patience that was like trapped in that world, like forced to take those pills. And to me, I appreciate it. I respect the movie, but for me, it was like a bit of an endurance watching it because I was just like, oh my God.
This movie's only 88 minutes long, but does it feel like it's over 2 hours?
Well, that's what's hilarious. It's funny because after it was over, I watched Point Break with Keanu Reeves, and I was like, I just need to have some
next speed
fun tonight. Yeah, and that movie's like 2 hours, and it goes by in a second. So, but I appreciate THX, so I wouldn't give it a negative review. It's a movie I respect. Clearly, George Lucas's talent as a visualist is very apparent, and what he can do with the low budget sets. Like, there's clearly. This is a visionary director. I will say, and this is a terrible jab, but like, I love the prequels and stuff. I mean, well, I don't love, I mean, they're debatable, but like the performances that he gets out of the actors in this movie are not bad.
Yeah.
Compared to some wooden performances in future George Lucas productions. So it's interesting that like I'll say one thing is that what I like about the short film is I like the short film. The main character is always running. And it's like the whole short film is like told through security camera footage. At the end of the short film, he gets out and you don't necessarily see trees, but like there's a shot of him running into the sunset. And in that short film that I watched on YouTube, in spite of its grainy quality, I feel that escape. I feel that, he got out of the system. And interestingly, in the movie, which is like the bigger budget movie, of course, because they had a little bit more budget, they replaced the hallways at the end with him climbing up a ladder. And when he gets out to the sunlight, it's this really long shot of like, you know, it's like the sun is in focus, he's out of focus, and it's this long shot, but he's just standing there. It's a minutia pet peeve, but I like the shot of the character running towards the sunset in the short film better than the final shot of the movie because it's so stylistic that to me it does not achieve the relief that I'm looking for. Like I almost would have liked to have seen him run into a forest just to see some green or something organic in the movie. So I appreciate it, but like I don't necessarily want to watch it again. But it's not a negative review. It's an interesting. I'm not like panning this movie. I'm just saying I appreciate it, and it's refreshing to see something that's like creamy and shot on film and looks rich. I mean, it's more interesting than a lot of, you know, CGI Disney Plus shows that I see that are so disposable. At least there's a vision to this movie, you know, so that's cool.
I think I agree 100% with everything you're saying, Sam. I don't have that much more to add on. I don't want to get too much into it because I want to go into some of the details of this, but I agree 100% on that. The vision behind this is, I think I'm very impressed by it. The world building in here is incredible. Yeah. And I do think the performances are solid. We haven't even gotten to some of the cast members. You know, I mean, Robert Duvall is, he's a star of this as THX 1138, and he's giving a very restrained performance, which is interesting because you think of him as such he gives many over the top performances in his career. And this is something where maybe outside of his role, like in The Godfather as the consigliere, he is one of the more quieter, most constrained performances, I think, of his career, maybe the most.
It is. And to his credit with his performance, Robert Duvall actually sold a lot of moments for me because of his acting. I mean, like you said, it's quiet, it's restrained, but he holds the screen so well that him sitting there and looking kind of tortured and like uncomfortable, he sold that world to me, where a lesser actor might have just been in the middle of that frame with like dead eyes. But Robert Duvall made it look like he was thinking, he was suffering, he was confused. I actually thought it was a pretty damn good acting job. Like, you know, and like, cause he does well with scenes where there's really not much, like a lot of not a dialogue. It's like him in front of a monitor taking pills and sitting there. But like I thought he conveyed emotion. I was impressed.
No, I agree. I think that it's what he's doing actually is quite difficult for an actor. And because, for most of the film, he's barely speaking and his facial expressions are minimal. His body language, it's very stiff and it's controlled. And so I think I think it's challenging what he's doing. And, instead of, dramatic moments with big speeches, the performance, he's working through these tiny shifts in behavior, which I really like to notice. You start noticing small things, the way his eyes linger a little bit longer, the slight hesitation in his movements. You slowly see him like awakening in this, and it's not anything dramatic at all. So you start to realize I like the fact that the audience, I feel like, is kind of, he is the surrogate for us in a lot of ways. I feel like I notice myself seeing him awaken throughout this film in little tiny ways. And I did appreciate that what he was bringing to this performance, because it's not showy in any way. And I really did enjoy it. I thought it was quite well done what he was bringing. And we didn't even talk about some of the other actors in here. Donald Pleasance plays SEN 5241. He's doing what Donald Pleasance kind of does.
I kind of like him.
Yeah,
movie.
He
was kind of irritating. And like when he was following Robert Duvall like out of the white void and like eating food, I actually was in the headspace of Robert Duvall, like, this annoying bastard is following me around. Just go away. Just go away. I will say, as a quick aside, I'm sure there's articles written about it somewhere, but I'd be fascinated what Robert Duvall's working relationship was like with George Lucas, because Robert Duvall is such an actor's actor, and Lucas is like notoriously famous for like barely speaking, very quiet. His idea of directing is faster, more intense, or like slow down. But like he talks very little, so I'm just interested how the two of them. I just feel like there must have been a moment where somewhere along the line of filming this, Robert Duvall realized he had to internalize things, because I can't imagine. I feel like he'd walk up to George Lucas and be like, "So what is he feeling in this moment?" And I feel like George would be like, "Well, the room is small, so he's uncomfortable that he's trapped."
White room. Just think about, you're in a white room.
The room is white, and you've been there a while. It's not pleasant. Okay, action. So, but I mean, I love George Lucas. I'm just giving him grief, but like, it would just be interesting to see, because like Robert Duvall is as actorly as an actor gets, in a good way.
Yeah. I mentioned the great world building that is in this. I love George Lucas's, he's really, in the very beginning of this movie, he's throwing us into this strange futuristic environment. This is what Lucas is good at. Even before Star Wars, you could see the world building. It's opening with this really, really great set piece where you see everything that's going on with this technology. You meet LUH, I think 3417. She's watching the screen. We start to see she's kind of the what's the word here? The person that kind of gets everything started with this whole thing unraveling, where you can see that she is being emotionally affected by what she's looking on the screen. And this is a world where emotions are suppressed. No one's allowed to have any intimacy. And she's the catalyst. That's what I'm trying to say. She's the catalyst for everything that happens in this film, basically. But I love these scenes of all these rows of surveillance monitors, and everything's displaying different feeds. Yeah. You hear there's radio chatter, which I'm listening to this is like the same chatter you hear like in moments in Star Wars later. There's so much reminiscent of what he would recycle in later movies.
I love the radio chatter. That's ambient. I'm all for atmosphere and world building where like you don't necessarily have to forward the plot every second. You can, and the world building is organic here.
And the phrase and what keeps getting thrown out there in this is this idea of consumption is being regulated. That everything is controlled. everything's monetized, not monetized. Everything is I'm blanking on this. Commoditized. That's what I meant. Society is commoditized. Everything is. And this is a really fascinating concept. And I mean, everything is commoditized in this world. It's obviously a totalitarian society. And this is, I think, a really well done depiction of that. It's really focused. And this is what I appreciate about this movie is Lucas is a visionary director. He really knows what he is trying to do in this. It is hyper focused. Now, but I don't know if I do think there is some tonal issues with this movie, which I'll get to that in a little bit. But this totalitarian society I find fascinating. Like sexual relationships are illegal. Everything about this environment reinforces this idea of human impulses have to be suppressed. I think this is a really cool concept. What else? I think the music and the atmosphere of this whole thing is incredibly well done as well.
Yeah.
There's this almost like calm, tranquil instrumental score that almost feels like institutionalized. You know, I think of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest while I was watching this movie. There was that vibe to it, especially in the prison scene.
Oh, for sure. It's also refreshing to see world like there's because it's just we just don't see this type of thing these days. World building, atmosphere on such a low budget. I enjoyed what he did with lighting and sets. Some places that looked like television studios that maybe like had some props put on the buttons. But I liked that because if this story was told now with a mega budget, you'd have a shot that like started above trees, and then this CGI shot would go through like tunnels in the ground and all this. And I really these days more than ever, and maybe it's just because I'm trying to sort of operate in the low budget world at the moment. I really like seeing what a director does where they have the vision and they achieve the vision where the low budget is not necessarily an inhibiting factor. It's kind of, there's something charming about it. I felt the same way about Christopher Nolan's Following, because that movie was so cheap, but that budget worked for that story. And I feel like for the most part, it works for THX, but I think his storytelling is good, but there's some wonky moments where, and you'll talk about this, where I just feel it's so cold that I actually start to drift when I watch it, and then I have to kind of rein myself back in because it almost puts me in a a trance.
Yeah,
in an inattentive trance.
my bigger complaint is the connective tissue between the story in the storytelling. It's the atmosphere, the performances, the world building is there. As a storyteller, I have some issues with the way that it's presented. And I think this goes to your point is like, you got to still entertain me though. You got to still tell a good story in this. And this is where like he's expecting the audience to make too big a leap with some of the plot in here that I don't think is conveyed very well in this movie. And that's the thing, like what just happened? How do we get here? It's not well conveyed with some of the things that happen in this movie. And I had to rewind this several times. Didn't do it too many times because I kind of wanted to get through this movie, but I did a few times to like figure out, how do we get to this point? Who is this character? What is I never fully understood the Donald Pleasance character, the SEN 5251. What is his role in this? What power does he
just kind of say that? I thought he was some kind of cop that was monitoring them. And then when he's like watching the screen and he sees that she doesn't take her pill, I thought he was like a organizer or an overseer who was like, oh, they are not behaving the way they should. But then he goes to jail with them and he's just as like deprived as they are.
And also I'm confused now that we're into his story arc is I don't really understand what his motive was. Like he wants to switch. I like the whole idea of partners. It's a non-sexual thing with these, or romantic thing with these partners to get together. What is his obsession with THX? Is it a romantic or sexual thing? Is it just some sort of envy? I don't feel like it's ever really conveyed. It's left purposely ambiguous, which in some ways is kind of neat, maybe because he's kind of like this odd, creepy guy. But at the same time, I need a little bit more to why he wanted to switch partners and live with I can't say THX, you know. I felt like it just kind of like out of nowhere, he had these wants, but like there's no substance to it, and things just happen in this movie without much explanation, and that kind of like I needed more of the why.
Yeah, like the woman must have been lobotomized or put out of the circuit, but she just vanishes and doesn't come back. And I thought that he was going to try to escape with her. She got recycled.
Yeah, which I thought was actually kind of a neat concept. But it's like I had to like do a lot of mental gymnastics in this movie trying to figure out what is going on. And I appreciate that in movies sometimes.
Yeah.
But this was a movie where I felt like I was working a little too hard, and it felt like a little bit better writing could have made it a little bit easier for me to follow, I guess.
Just to have a bit more connective tissue, because I thought you get to that like white prison where it's just white, like a sea of white. And I thought that Donald Pleasance was trying to team up with him to escape, which he sort of was. But then when you see all the other characters, you realize it's a kind of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest scenario where they're not necessarily firing on all thrusters.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, great. Like the plot had some motion. Now I'm stuck in a room with misfits going nowhere. Like, yay.
By the way, I did really like the prison scene because it's such a brilliant use of having no budget at all. Number one, it's just
I don't know how they did that. That was my favorite visual thing.
It's a completely white void. So, it's a cell without walls or bars, and no shadows either. So no visible boundaries. So it's a prison of the mind in a lot of ways. And Lucas, what I also think is cool, this is, I think, one of Lucas's best shot scenes as well, because he is doing this in some really fascinating ways. Characters are often pushed to the edges of the frame, and these huge empty vacuums of space dominate the screen, which creates this feeling of these characters like lost in infinite emptiness. And sometimes like it's only like their heads and just the tops of their torsos are like in the bottom of the screen, and it's just framed in a very interesting way. And I think it's very I like how that whole part is shot a lot. And you just get the sense that someone could just go insane in a place like this much faster than in a traditional prison cell.
Oh yeah. I just love that visual. When they're escaping, they walk into the white like a fog, and they can't see where they've come from or where they're going. That was kind of cool. If anything, Lucas is such an interesting, I almost wish that he said that he doesn't like directing that much, where he likes it okay, but he really likes post and this and that. When I saw this non-Star Wars George Lucas directed film, it made me kind of wish that he had the directing bug more in the 80s, after Return of the Jedi, and just tried his hand at just some other story. Because I'm always interested to see what he has such an interesting voice that it's so weird to see a George Lucas sci-fi movie that doesn't have like lightsabers in it. Because they're so used to that,
So this escape out of the prison is interesting. They run into this character, I think. Is this where they run into this character called like Hologram?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I thought was kind of interesting, because we passed over something I want to talk. We'll back up to it, but the they run into this hologram performer. Maybe his name is hologram. The actor is Don Pedro Coley, hologram SRT 5752. I got his name. Okay. And it's interesting because I think the only African-American character in this movie, possibly. And he says he's a hologram, but he is not, I guess. But I don't know if that means that he is a hologram actor, because what I do remember from earlier in the movie, and this is the scene we did not talk about, which I think we need to, is the hologram. I'll call it I looked online. They call it the master baton sequence. Where, but basically all the actors in the hologram are African Americans, if you notice that. But we'll get to that in a moment, because we need to back up to that scene for a moment, because that is wild.
I didn't know. Interesting.
But he shows up in the scene, and he's like the only like normal person I feel like in this whole movie. Actually, he's very casual. He's very, very modern, I remember. And what I found interesting is that for a character who says that he is hologram, and I don't know if that means that he is one or if he's a figment of THX's their imagination, but he seems to have the most humanity also of every character in here as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That either he believes he's one, or he works as a hologram. I don't know. It's not really explained again.
It's not really explained, but I did notice how much more cheerful he was than everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, this is welcome.
But no, there's another crazy thing. At the end of the movie where they're trying to escape, he's trying to also like steal a car as well. And I don't know why he can't get his car going. It's kind of, it feels like clunky filmmaking.
That was the weirdest. You know what I deduced from that, and like the storytelling did not help, but I thought, because he's a hologram and he doesn't have like human intuition, he's like, okay, I will drive forward now and the car will take care of itself. And then it just rams into the wall and blows up. And I was well, that's the end of that guy.
Notice, I don't think he's in the car when it crashes.
Yeah. See, I wasn't sure where he was. I thought he was there, but I don't know. Like,
so that's the thing. Like, is it supposed to be left intentionally ambiguous whether he is a hologram? Is his name hologram? Does he work as a hologram actor that performs for the studio that makes these movies that people, when they're hooked up to that machine, that's I don't really get, and it's never really explained, and maybe that is the idea.
I really feel like this movie could have benefited from one, more character development, and two,
a rewrite.
If there was a moment like where like Robert Duvall makes the decision, which he kind of does, like, I am going to escape. I feel that his escape from the underground world should have been very suspenseful. And like, so when he finally gets to the surface, it's like this huge relief and payoff for the audience. But the escape is as clinical as the rest of the movie. Not that it has to all of a sudden be like action packed. I just wanted more narrative thrust where there was a sense of like, oh, he's got to get out of here. I'm glad he did, but it just kind of happened. Also, those cars and all that stuff, were some of those cars miniatures or something? Because there's a scene that looked so impressive and modern looking. I was thinking to myself, is this a CGI George Lucas 2004 edition? But there's a scene where a car is like weaving in and out of traffic, and there's tons of other cars, and I feel like
an old shot.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, how did that it looked like a miniature. The other shot I thought was really impressive is they have to take a turn and they enter this crowd of just people pushing and shoving.
I love that shot. It's like human rapids.
Yeah, I felt the world. I really felt the world. I wish, you talk about a rewrite. I wish there was something in the script that let you in on his escape so you could enjoy it more. Like if they had said something like, well, like if he steals a map, or it's like, oh, if we can get out through this way, if you knew the trials that were coming, you might be able to emotionally participate in it. But instead it's like, and now we're here and now he's driving, whatever,
No, I totally. You know, the escape reminded me a little bit of like The Running Man, where just like these like set pieces just kind of like abut each other, but have no connective tissue at all. And all of a sudden we're here. Now we're here. Now we're here. But like these locations have no like there's nothing that actually connects these spaces to each other. Like they go through they're in the void, and then all of a sudden they're in this room of, which I love, that where they go through the crowds are going through corridors like human rapids, which is what I called it. And I think it's wonderful moment there. But like, where is this real? Is this, that's what I don't understand, is what is it, physical space, tangible space? What is in our head? And sometimes I feel like, are we supposed to be watching this as an exercise, and are we supposed to be taking all this literally? I feel like we are, but is this a real underground space? I feel like it's constantly, he's constantly playing a game with us, or just is too lazy to just define what this is. And I feel like it might be the latter.
It's part of that. I feel like it's supposed to be an actual massive underground, like super city with tunnels and things. But even if there was just a single shot of like a security guard looking at a monitor where there was a map of the place, and it's like, we're here, but look, he's going to the coolant tower. We have to go. If you could just connect, it almost allows you to connect with it. And then it's like, nope. And now a shot of like the keyboard clacking, you know?
Yeah.
But I like atmosphere. I don't mind that. Like, I like that world building stuff. It just doesn't quite coalesce enough to like have a through line story. Like in the middle of that, let's say if the movie ended halfway through it, where Robert Duvall was just walking down the hallway and he got like killed or split in half, my emotional reaction would be, huh, you know, like I wasn't like, I'm not engaged. Like, whatever, you know, while still appreciating the filmmaking.
What was I going to say? We're getting, so we learn about LUH's fate, sort of, and I had to really piece this together, where THX discovers that, I guess they say that she's been consumed, but it seems like her identity has been recycled as, what do they call? I forgot what they gave her a name, but basically she's been recycled and repurposed in the system. And then it shows a shot of like almost like a fetus. So I think that's what they mean by like repurposed. So she's been disposed of, and she is coming back as another test tube baby or something. Again, I don't know how it all works, but that's what it seems like. But it just comes out of nowhere, and there's not much explanation to how this whole infrastructure system is working.
I would have liked a little bit more information as to what their jobs were. I knew they were like repairing robots or something, and like they had to do precision work, but I wasn't even sure if Robert Duvall was supposed to be human or not, because he's in there repairing these things, but they're giving him instructions like he's some kind of brainless worker. They're like, oh, and move to the left, and don't forget to do this, and don't forget to do that. And it's like, does he know his job, or does he just blindly receive instructions? And clearly he was in a bad mood, because he goes back to his like cell, and of all the stations of like entertainment that he can watch, he chooses to watch the video of a cop like beating a guy, and he's just sitting there watching it. And I'm like, okay, I guess
time out. I think though he preface before that is the scene that we did not talk about, and that is the hologram entertainment scene, or jokingly I'll refer to it as the master baton sequence, where this is like a very surreal moment here, where he's watching holographic projections of naked dancers, and all the performers, like again, I said, or African American, but the visuals are very strange, and then it becomes more and what's happening is, though, this is what I was talking about, how everything is commoditized, and even, you know, human semen, basically, is what's going on here. That he's hooked up to a machine that's extracting this. Not to get too vulgar here, but that's what's happening in the scene. But it's not obvious.
It barely registered for me. It does now. Yeah.
If you think about that's what's happening in this scene. But what's hysterical is that while he's watching these naked people dancing, interspliced as this is like political broadcasts about fleeing inmates. Which is a real turn on. And then, as a nightcapper, he's, there's this violent, scene of a police beating, which is like, wow, that's a real palate cleanser after that, which I think is just hysterical. But that's what his experience was during that. That is what the government mandated, experience is, for this act. I thought was so funny.
That was funny. Yeah, that's a very odd scene again, and like that is the point. It's not like
you gotta bring it down.
It's clear to me, but when I was watching it, I sort of got that impression, but I was like, I'm not quite sure what he's doing here.
Well, exactly. It is not. I did rewind it to watch this again because what is going on is not clear. But I did watch that scene again, like, oh. Yeah, there is like this. Oh, it's you can see what's going on.
I remember that. Yeah.
So, and during this whole time, this is when LUH is tampering with his pills as well. So that's what starts to awaken or awaken THX's emotions and his sexual desire and all that. So that's what kind of like throws everything. Gets this movie started when that happened. So yeah, it's for
a movie about the repressed human spirit and like it needs some emotional catharsis or breakthrough. And the shot of him climbing up the ladder and getting out to the daylight just wasn't enough for me. I would have even been happy if there was 20 more seconds of him like walking into the woods. You know what I mean? I just wanted. Or like looking, or I don't know. I just like, I feel like the point of the movie is to be repulsed by that society and look within yourself and be like, well, no, as humans, we have a lot to offer and we should be organic and we should communicate our thoughts and we should like have love in this. It's a good point. It's just like the movie is so clinical that it's like, I almost feel like, there's moments in that film where I feel like, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Aviator as Howard Hughes when like he's sitting there and like someone takes food from his plate and it throws him off and it makes him twitch. Like the movie, some of these scenes, they make me like, I'm sitting there like, oh, I feel uncomfortable and there's these tubes and I like it made me like feel claustrophobic. But at least it had an emotional effect in some way.
I guess the last thing I'll just bring up is the final chase scene, which I thought was pretty visually mostly exciting, although you can tell Lucas was probably working with a very limited stretch of tunnel, filming it repeatedly from different angles to stretch this out. It goes on kind of long for what it is. Still, though, I love the sound design of this scene. I love this the sound the car makes and those cycles make. We haven't even talked about these robot cops, which I think the design of those cops are pretty cool. By the way,
are cool. And I do like the cars because it's like Lucas has always loved fast cars and speed. So you see that scene and it's like the beginning of like that just around the corner, like drag racing in American Graffiti is on its way. X-Wings are going to race in Star Wars. Like, so it's like, you see the seed of the racing joy implanted in that movie. And I'm like, God, that's George Lucas right there.
Did you hear the talk over the radio where they say they think they ran over Wookiees on the expressway?
I did. And I was like, yeah. I want to see the version though, before those like CGI monkeys were added to what did they look like before that?
What was that?
It's supposed to be like there's a name for them. I Googled it, but it's like the
shell dwellers, something like that.
The dwellers or the cave dwellers. It's like
shell. I think it's just shell dwellers or something like that, which it looks so bad. Ugh. I don't know.
Yeah, was like, oof. that kind of threw me off there, that moment.
Yeah. So I know you've expressed your kind of dissatisfaction with the final scene of him kind of climbing up the ladder. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's just that we don't really know what he's escaping to. We don't hear anything about the outer world. He's escaped the system, but what has he escaped into? We don't hear, so we don't really, it's just kind of left kind of like open-ended.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to be a little bit more cathartic, even though this is a totally different movie. Like at the end of the Truman Show, when Jim Carrey like gets to the door on the wall and he's like, "Good afternoon, good evening," and he goes out into the world, you're like, "Yeah, he made it, woo!" And in this one, I was like, "Well, he got away, but maybe the world above ground is just as terrible too." So I have no idea.
He might be like cooking his brains, at that moment. We don't know.
Eaten by a lizard or something. You don't know what's out there.
Yeah. Oh, well, you think we've done it now? The
last thing I'll say is, what happened to Donald Pleasance? Where did he go? If I remember,
disappeared.
But then there's a shot of him. He gets separated from them in the crowd. Then it cuts back to him walking around in like tunnels. I'm like, "What are you doing, buddy? Where are you going?" And then he's gone. I was like, "All right, I hope everything works out." I don't know what you're up to, but
yeah, I don't remember it. I don't remember any conclusion to his character.
Just wandered off. Yeah. All
right. Well, let's take a quick break. I'll do a little housekeeping. We'll come back with our final thought, ratings, and verdict.
Tim, I realize Harry's been around a long time. I'm not saying that his ways are antiquated, but it helped to have a car that handled properly and didn't blow engines.
Well, if he wouldn't get excited and over-rev, the son of a bitch, the engine wouldn't blow. Now, Cole, when you shift the gear and that little needle on the tack goes into the red and reads 9,000 RPM, that's bad.
It's also my fault if the tires blow, if you ask this old fart.
Well, hell yes, it's your fault. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darryl Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
All right. Before we continue, we'd like to thank you for tuning into the show. We really appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your feedback. If you agree with our opinions or agree with them, I cannot talk tonight, or just want to join the conversation, reach out to us. You can email us at backtotheframerate@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, which we haven't posted anything on TikTok in ages, but maybe we will soon. I don't know. And that handle is Back to the Frame Rate. And if
Ellie's going to post something on TikTok. Just kidding. Inside joke.
She might. She has access. I think she might have access to the TikTok page. We should change that password. Huh? Yeah. All right. If you're enjoying the show, help us spread the word by sharing the episodes with a friend who loves movies. Leave a comment on our socials or even sending us a voice message. That would be so cool. We might even play it on the show. That'd be awesome.
And we're doing well here in the bunker. Season 3, the apocalypse is rough outside.
Yeah.
And, the Ellie and B, they went out to get food. And
we haven't heard from them.
I hope they're okay. They might be alive out there, but you have to understand the air is so polluted that we just got to stay here. So season 3, we're holding down the fort. We don't know what's out there, but we're trying.
So you can visit us at backtotheframerate.com, where you can find all of our episodes across dozens of podcast platforms. Okay. It's time for our ratings and our verdict to save or purchase. Any last thoughts on THX 1138, Sam?
I liked Donald Pleasant's goofiness, even though I have no idea what his character wanted or what he was doing, but it was a pleasure to see him.
Right. Okay. And I'll just say, I'm not entirely sure that this movie fully holds together as a coherent film. Like I said, it's packed with fascinating ideas. There are moments of brilliant world building, striking visual concepts, and some great, just basic, great science fiction themes. But at the same time, the tone of this movie, I think there's a lot of unevenness to it. And it often feels like a collection of, concepts that never fully quite develop to a unified story. But here's what I do. I think what's interesting compared to, you compare this to other science fiction films over the same era, and you got movies like Logan's Run or even like Westworld. Silent Running. You know, those films may be a lot campier and rough around the edges. Their performances and production values, I'd say, are much more inconsistent, but those movies tend to know what they are. And I think that this movie, on the other hand, feels like a collection of undercooked ideas rather than a fully realized vision. I mean, the vision is there as far as what Lucas wanted, but it's not coming together. And there's a lot I admire about this, but it's not coming together as cleanly as it could have. Still, this is very ambitious and fascinating early work from Lucas, and you can clearly see the seeds of the filmmaker he would eventually become. So,
I hear you. I honestly feel like they could have done maybe a few more drafts of the script, or just a little bit more. And before we move on, did you want to say something about the way the police look, or about the scene when he's arrested? Or you'd mentioned that. I don't know if there's something you wanted to say, but
I don't
or
remember.
not.
It was funny. The one thing is, I remember when Robert Duvall was building them. Did you notice that they looked just like a C-3PO unit before they were finished?
Really did,
yeah. I don't know. I have nothing more to say about this movie.
It's amazing how, for a movie that's this cool, it's amazing how warm American Graffiti and Star Wars are, like, and only a couple of years after that. Like, American Graffiti is right around the corner, and like seeing this movie, you would not expect those warm-hearted classics to come out next. You would think it'd be more like cold stuff. Maybe that's why it was Francis that was like, "Hey, try this." But interesting though.
I am giving this 3 out of 5 stars still, just for a lot of the positive things that I gave it. That's the best I can give it, but that's I think a very good rating considering some of this movie's shortcomings, but that's what I'm going to give it. But no, I am not putting this in the vault.
I agree. I was gonna give it 2.5, but I will be generous too and give it the 3, because I do applaud the effort. And in the days of sequels and spin-offs and properties being done again and again and again, I'm all for original, fascinating ideas. So it's a unique, fascinating movie. Could have more of emotional connection to it, but an honorable 3 stars, and I would not put it in the vault either. For me, that's such a no-brainer. It's just like, nope.
All right. Well, goodbye. Oh, a double.
Oh man, it got smashed.
I don't know how that happened, but you know.
But I was going to go to the Tashi station to pick up some power converters.
All right. Well, it is time for recommendation shelf.
Sir.
What?
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Well, have you heard anything about either one of them?
I find it's best to stay out of other people's affairs.
You mean you haven't heard anybody say anything about either one of these?
Nope.
Well, what about these two?
Oh, they suck.
Arnold Schwarzenegger just wanted to cut in King Conan, with me as a king, who is Conan the Barbarian, the director of the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movies, might be making this movie with me. I'm very excited. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. All right, our recommendation shelf this episode is Dystopian Societies, and ties in very well with our topic tonight, our film. And these are great pairings. I saw what you have in store for us. And Sam, I'll give you the opportunity to begin here because I love your pick.
I am a huge fan of Children of Men, Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 film. I love this movie. It is, of course, a dystopian society set in the not too distant future where women's fertility has ended. No one is pregnant and society is dying. And this is a movie about Clive Owen discovering the first pregnant woman in many, many years. And he has to protect her and help her escape to the ocean off the coast of England to get to this ship called the Tomorrow, which is essentially a secret society that's going to protect her. But love this movie. Talk about emotional connection. I mean, unlike THX, this movie I find riveting, suspenseful. I really care what happens to Clive Owen's characters and the other characters. Someone described this film, a reviewer, as the anti-Blade Runner. And even though it has nothing to do with Blade Runner, I like this vision of the future in this movie. The way it's shot, the way it looks, how Alfonso Cuarón does a lot of handheld blocking with lots of people in the scene. The action sequences in this movie, particularly a scene involving a car when they cross through this checkpoint and get attacked. At the time when I saw that in the theater, I'd never seen anything like it. This movie really is quality to me. So if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Children of Men, one of Alfonso Cuarón's best. I think he did this right after Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and he was just like creatively on fire making this movie.
I think so.
Cuarón, I might be. I always mispronounce his name. I apologize, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's made a bad movie, but yeah. No, it's funny. The Children of Men. Do you know what year that movie is supposed to take place in?
Not 2026.
No, next year, 2027.
2027, really? Oh my God. You know what's funny? What's terrifying about that, and I won't get into it, but the movie's all about like deportations and immigration, and I'm like, oh my God, no.
No. I didn't know that off the top of my head. I just looked, but yeah.
That's crazy. Oh.
That's a great pick, Sam, and how prescient that movie is now, and how well that ties into tonight's discussion as well. So yes, great.
I think of that as a new movie, and it's 20 friggin' years old.
I know.
Almost. Like my perception of time is absolutely warped, but that's another story for a different day because I'm terrified by the passage of time. Terrified.
Yep. So we'll get to my recommendation shelf pick. So, the 90s were a glorious time for cinema. And I think this might be like, I don't know how, I think all my picks and recommendation shelf are mostly from the 90s, I think, but
I love the 90s.
And I think the main reason was because it was sandwiched between two distinct periods of Hollywood. It came after the 80s when studios were still, in a way, beholden to like this archaic system of making movies following trends, which is why so many movies from that period feel like they've aged poorly. But in the 2000s is when the system figured out, everything needs to be some sort of goddamn franchise or a toy line or has to have value with IP. But for a period of time, studios simply just threw money at the wall to see what would stick. And Dark City is a result of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen that in so long. That's a quality. I mean, I've liked it a lot.
Because let me tell you, there are no Rufus Sewell action figures or spin-off TV shows depicting year one of Frank Bumstead's, the hardened, cynical inspector portrayed by William Hurt. There's nothing like that, but there should have been.
There should have been.
Yeah, but Dark City, if anyone hasn't seen it, is one of the true gems of the 90s. It's a real visual feast, I'd say. It's part film noir with clear influences of like the 1940s classic films like, The Big Sleep or The Third Man. Maltese Falcon is a huge influence on it. But it's also science fiction, and it's paying tribute to like Metropolis with nods to German expressionism. Blade Runner, total Blade Runner like homages. And I'm being purposely cagey about the plot because I know if you know this movie, but I want everyone who has not seen Dark City to stop this podcast right now and go watch it tonight.
I might do that because I remember liking it, but it has been so long. Like I saw it in high school at a party. And so it's like kind of a blurry memory because like there was music, you know what I mean? Like I have to give this film justice. So I'm excited. I may watch that tonight. No joke.
So good. But it's available to stream for free on Tubi and on Canopy, which I keep telling everyone is a great free service you can get through your local library. And I have this over here. We're not doing video right now, but over here I got my. You can get, for collectors out there, Arrow put out an incredible 4K that I have that's totally worth it with it has like 5 commentary tracks on it and tons of bonus features. It's a great package that's available as well. So Dark City is probably my top 5 films from the 90s and definitely my top 25 of all time. So go see that.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my pick.
Now I'm super intrigued. I'm embarrassed. Like I remember the movie, but I just actually, you know what? I don't remember it that well. Like I don't remember it well. Like I have to see it. Like I remember the feeling of liking it, but that's it.
All right. We're going to take one more break. And we're going to come back with another new little segment that we threw together.
My wife is crying upstairs. I hear cars coming to the house. Consigliere of mine, I think you should tell your Don what everyone seems to know.
Well, I didn't tell Mama anything. I was about to come up and wake you just now and tell you.
But she needed a drink first. And now you've had your drink.
They shot Sonny on the causeway. He's dead.
Okay. We are heading into a new segment, which I'm just throwing at you, Sam. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Here, I got the music cue for it. We're going to be doing this until the release of Heat 2. But we're going to have news update. So
I think that the full name of Heat 2, it should be promoted where it says in Robert De Niro's voice, he's like, Heat 2, fuck you. Heat 2. But he's, yeah.
So a week ago, Christian Bale has been added to the cast.
I keep hearing about this. My whole Facebook feed is all like rumors of this and this project and that project.
Well,
I'm like, I wish my algorithm would like let me know what friends are doing because I exist in a digital void. Like,
this is official though that he signed up. Every single entertainment news outlet has reported this. This sounds like it's definitely happening.
Oh yeah,
Christian Bale is on board with a cast which includes Leonardo DiCaprio. We got Adam Driver, Austin Butler, and Bradley Cooper. I think are the confirmed people. And what else we got here? And it looks like this is scheduled to begin filming on August 3rd is the scheduled shooting date for this. Wow. This looks like it's really happening.
I'm curious because I know the Heat 2 Michael Mann novel came out and it actually all I know is that the story jumps around in time. It goes back to the past and into the future. So I'm interested in it.
What we got here is it says that the part of the story picks up immediately after the events of the original movie, following Chris Harris, which is the Val Kilmer character, as he escapes Los Angeles and heads to the international underworld. His journey takes him through South America and Southeast Asia, where he becomes estranged with a powerful drug cartel. And the other storyline jumps back to 1988 Chicago with Vincent Hanna, the character made the Al Pacino character, and he is hunting a serial killer, Otis Wardell. And this section of the movie, I guess, is where the Vincent character actually almost comes into contact with the Neil character, the Robert De Niro character. Now, they don't meet, apparently, but they come close to meeting back in 1988, which I think is hysterical. So, yeah, we'll see. And then it jumps forward again to the year 2000. back again. So this is jumping around in time.
Is the forward, where is the Val Kilmer timeline in older Val Kilmer or younger Val Kilmer?
It's an older Val Kilmer and an older and a younger Al Pacino.
Interesting.
So we're everyone's speculating Christian Bale. Is he playing the younger Al Pacino?
I was going to say Austin Butler looks Val Kilmerish, but he's too young for old Val Kilmer.
This cast. This is a
so weird.
Cast, like I can't figure. So Michael Mann has confirmed that there's definitely going to be aging and de-aging technology in this movie. There's going to be a lot of that, which
sounds expensive.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of that, and so I just hope we don't get old CGI character. I think I don't know. I'm scared we're going to get a Val Kilmer performance that he never gave, or something like that. They could do that, and that's what I don't know what they got in store for us. I mean, I'm really curious, but we'll see. But that is what some of the latest news is. That's going to go into production August 3rd of 2026. Cinematographer for this is Dion Beebe. Baby, is that how you say it? Which is not who I would have pegged for this, but he's worked with Man on Collateral in Miami Vice. So this is somebody who he's worked with before, but not, necessarily.
So that, in hearing that news, that makes me think that he's going to go fully with some kind of digital camera. Lots of movies shoot digitally, but in Collateral, he was experimenting with so that makes me think that this movie is not going to be shot on film, obviously.
No, because when I tell you this guy's other credits, which is Edge of Tomorrow, Mary Poppins Returns, Gemini Man, and Little Mermaid. So this guy, he is pushing. When I think of Gemini Man, also, which was that John Woo? Was it? I think it was.
The Will Smith movie?
Not John Woo. Ang Lee.
Okay.
Oh my God, getting racially profiled. I'm screwed now. But yes, that was so. I know there's it's a double-edged sword with some of the work I think this guy has done. But anyways, that is what's going on with Heat 2. We need a good title for this segment, because as this movie gets closer to production, I want to have tabs on this, because this is.
I'm really curious about it. I don't know.
I was looking at this original cast for Heat, and it's unbelievable the talent that was behind this movie. We had Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, John Voight, Tom Sizemore, Amy Brenneman, Ashley Judd, Mykelti Williamson, Ted Levine, Dennis Haysbert, William Fichtner, Natalie Portman, Tom Noonan, Hank Azaria, Danny Trejo. I forgot Danny Trejo was in that movie. Henry Rollins, Tone Loc, Jeremy Piven, and Xander Berkeley were in this movie. That's crazy what they got.
Heat is one of those movies that I loved it when I first saw it, and I watch it over the years, and it just gets better and better. It's just so well done.
It's been a good probably 12, 13 years since I've seen it, and I think I might be due. If it wasn't 3 hours long, I'd start it tonight, but no, not happening. Anyways, you watched Dark City this week. I'll watch Heat, and all will be good. Okay. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our show. This first episode of this Robert Duvall retrospective, I think was a good entryway. I'm excited. Oh, by the way, we're calling this Duv-All In, which I'm proud of.
I like that. I really like Duv-All In.
And next episode, we are going to do Tender Mercies from 1983, which I'm really looking forward to, because this is the movie that he won an Academy Award for Best Actor in 1983.
That's awesome. And I have not seen the movie.
And I haven't either. And I think this is a movie that was a big influence on Crazy Heart, the movie that Jeff Bridges won for as well. So there's, I think, a big tie-in. These would be, I think, a great double feature I hear. And I like Crazy Heart a lot. So I am really looking forward to this. We'll do that probably in a month or several weeks from now. We'll get to it when we get to it. But this is going to be our theme, but we're going to try doing this on a monthly basis, because podcasting is hard, and we're busy people. So we'll see.
Season 3 is incredible because this whole season is directed by Michael Mann, whereas if you go back and listen to our first season, it was directed by Tom Shadyac. We're moving up.
Yeah. Okay. And that I think that does it, Sam. Any last words?
Be joyous, be hopeful, and if you have problems in life, don't worry about it. Tomorrow's another day.
I love that. Okay, then we'll end it on that. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Wait, I can't just do that. I have to actually do my closing. Oh my God, I am so out. This is what happens. This is what happens when I don't know what I'm doing when we do this so infrequently. That is our show for this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Wested Media Podcast Network. Special thanks to Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from the Fallout Shelter. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. You will always find all of our episodes at backtotheframerate.com. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate, signing off.
I want you to know it's over.